Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Stephanie Stevens Show. I am Stephanie Stevens, and I will be your host for the next 30 to 35 minutes. Today, I have on my show one of the students from York University. I think it's his final year. His major is sociology. So I asked him on the show today because, as you guys know, Pride Week is coming up here in Toronto. So we wanted to understand a young person's view, Black, um, understanding the causes of HIV, the prevention of HIV, and just the education behind HIV. And now he's graduating and he's really focusing on helping the prevention and the causes of HIV and AIDS in the Black and trans, well, just in general, the LGBT two-spirit pronoun community. So I want you guys to welcome to my show today, Mr. George Grant. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored to be here, Stephanie.
No problem. Now, did I say it right that George Grant and are you in your final year of university?
I am. I'm in my final year at York University for sociology. My studies are Blackness, mostly identity, as well as power. And so there's an intersection between those things that are very interesting to me.
Okay. Now, what are you planning on? Where are you from, first of all?
I'm born and bred right here in Toronto, Ontario. My family's from Jamaica and England.
Okay. And how do you identify?
As Black, MSM. So there's the LGBTQ community, and I believe that those acronyms have weight, a set of meanings attached to them. And I feel that some of those meanings don't identify with me. So I go as MSM, which is the behavior, a man who has sex with other men.
Okay. Now, I saw that you had something on your page that said GO82. What does that mean?
So GO82 is an alter ego that I like to get into when I'm educating. He's kind of in your face, kind of brash, kind of tell it like it is. And so GO82 allows me to kind of pop out of George to feel you and educate.
Okay. I like that when you said that you're sort of an upfront kind of person. I like people that are very direct because sometimes honesty is the best way of delivering a message and making a point of view that sometimes needs to be heard.
Yeah.
Now, so you're graduating with a sociology degree. Now,
That's correct.
what do you plan on doing? What is your focus after you graduate?
So again, my training is mostly around the Black community and HIV and trans community. So as you know, as a Black community, we're already marginalized. And I think trans are even more marginalized than that. So there's a high prevalence of HIV within that community. And so what I want to do with my degree is find a way to galvanize all the knowledge out there and make systems as well as preventions that work for everybody and not just the dominant party.
Okay. Now, as you know, as a Black person and us just as Black people, we have a hard time accepting sometimes the reality of just who we are. And then when we get in certain situations like HIV or whatever the other STDs are, or just in a medical crisis in general, we don't seek the help we should be seeking.
Correct. I'm so glad you touched on that. During my, I guess, education, right? Because I myself had issues that this work had brought up. I find that we're difficult to grasp the information in front of us because it's not given to us in a way that we can grasp it, right? It's speaking in a language that isn't speaking to us. So I find that it isn't that we're, I'd say, hard, of asking for help is that we don't know how to navigate the systems in which we can find help.
Okay. Now, do you think that's one, I listened to Patti LaBelle a lot. I'm sure you know who she is, the singer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she said sometimes we get in our own way. Now, for me, I think, do you think it's that sometimes Black people are ashamed that gets in their way?
Okay, yes. I'm going to say yeah. A lot of it is, first off, our identities. Our identities are given to us by a dominant narrative. So right off the bat, we are stumbling to find out who we are. Then you hit somebody with this, stumbling a system they don't understand. Absolutely, we're going to come across some issues. And I find that when we could admit that A, there's a problem, B, it's affecting our community, and C, we need to have a bigger conversation, then I think we can change things a little bit better and get the ball rolling.
Okay. Now, are you working at Black Cap at this time?
I'm not working at Black Cap at this time. I've been out of Black Cap for a while. I've done other works. I've actually did a workshop called Resistance, Images, and Power. And it was my way of kind of flexing my sociology degree, or almost degree.
Okay. Now, where is that program?
Well, the program was held October 5th of last year, and it was at a gallery just downtown called TWP. And it's called We Are the Paper. It was actually a Black-only space. I requested it just because I wanted to have an intimate conversation about images about us and power.
Now, do you think, now, as you know, like you just said, images are power. They are real power. Why is it that, I've noticed in the last 10, 15 years, Black images have been appearing on HIV prevention messages. I've seen a few commercials with Black faces that speak honestly about what they're going through. And it sends a powerful message to the Black community. But yet we still find that, I'm going to say, for example, when Black Cap was at the PWA Foundation in that building, they seem to have a hard time having Black people access the programs in that building.
It's funny you say that because I was one of those people in the PWA building. Myself with Mary Dago were actually satellites there. And yeah, it was difficult for I'm going to say, our people to access the building. There are a lot of barriers. Some of them were just say clash of personalities. And I think it was absolutely necessary for Black Cap to have its own space. As I will advocate for Blacks to have their own space, some conversations we need to have by ourselves without other ears available. Sometimes we have to be candid with ourselves, and we don't want other ears available. So I think accessing services for PWA was probably a lot of barriers going there.
Okay, because I'm sure the PWA looked at everybody as the same under one umbrella. And like you said, sometimes we need to just deal with each other one-on-one. And because we understand each other. And like I tell people this all the time, no matter being Black around the world, I can go anywhere and fit into any Black culture because it's just, we understand each other.
Right.
No matter what language you speak, you're Black, we know what time it is. Now, what do you want to do now that you graduate? What is it that you want to do?
Well, I've started an initiative called Black City. And what I really want to do is have a space for us to talk about us. Like I said, images are very powerful. And often the images that we've seen about ourselves haven't been produced by us. So it's almost as if somebody else is telling you who you can be. I think having a space for us to talk about who we can be without everybody else chirping in and telling that is exactly what I want to do. So Black City's first thing is called the Village Social Media. Yes, you heard it. I'm going to try and do a Black owned and operated social media platform, and all the proceeds would go towards helping Black communities. And I'm not going to say that anybody gave 1,000 or 100,000 to Trump's campaign. All I'm going to say is Black City Village is going to be pro-Black, and all money is going to go towards helping Black social. That's it.
Okay. Now that you said that about Donald Trump, I'm from Orlando,
Right.
and it's the Bible Belt. Now, I'm gonna be honest, my parents were Republican, okay? They were straight out Republican, and that's how we grew up. Not necessarily that I voted in that way as I got older and had to make my own choices. But now that we're in Canada, a place that is supposed to be so diverse and so welcoming, we are seeing so many of the refugees in the system, not just for trying to get a place to call home, but yet they're trying to access programs that are in a marginalized system already. Now, how do you tell Black people who come from a country that their country where they feel like they're at home, but yet they come here and want to feel at home because they're coming from something that doesn't offer them programs that can sort of make their lives better? Do you understand what I'm saying? What do you think where's the communication problem here?
So what I hear from you, Stephanie, is newcomers not being able to navigate systems. Again, we as Black people have issues navigating systems, and I think there needs to be some sort of bridging of the gap. I think social services, ASOs need to step in right at that beginning stage. I think we need to hold them by their hand and bring them into our country and deal with what those issues are. And I think too many times they're coming in, slipping under the radar, And so that's when we get into the problems. And that's what I mean by navigating the system. So if we can get in there right when they come and help them navigate the system, I believe that process would be a lot better.
Okay, and now that you graduated, like I said before, what steps are you taking now to make the reality of what you want to happen? Black City, is that what you call it?
Yeah, it's Black City, the village. And so okay. I've actually got some friends on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so you've left Black Cap altogether?
Correct. Okay.
I'm not going to ask why. I'm just trying to make it all fit in, or connect. I want to I wanted the people out there to have a real connection of resources, where you stand, how you can help them, and if you can't help them at this time, but yet you can still give them valuable information that can guide them along their way. Now, Pride is coming up in Toronto.
Correct.
Now, we're dealing with all kinds of things, from the protests and the mere fact of this coronavirus thing here. Plus, we have, you remember last year when we had the Black preachers in the village?
Yeah.
We're going to have that again, I'm sure. So what do you think how are you going to get the message out about AIDS prevention, HIV prevention, when we are dealing with this coronavirus? How do you deal with that?
So it's funny you say that. Like you, I come from a very Christian background, and sex wasn't really talked about. And you talk about these Black men with their Bibles in there. That often is a very scary point, and that can be a definite sign of people to run away. So I think it's really important for our religious leaders to reach out and have those conversations with the people, because remember, our people thrive within our churches. So if you're away from that and you don't have that kind of flock, things can get very difficult. So what I would like to look at is means of communication. So I have a chat group. There's QR codes that people get. You scan it, it automatically gets into a chat group. People can ask questions day or night, and I'll try my best to respond to them. If I don't know the information, I'm online looking for it to give it to them. And these sometimes are people who don't have homes, people who really need the information right now, people who are actually street involved as well as substance involved. So I want to be able to be available to them. So that's in the interim something that I've done.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you see over the years, how do you see the success of prevention? Has it really made a difference? All of the marketing, all of the handing out condoms, all of the preaching, all of the programs, have we seen real success in this community?
So that's what takes me back. You know, if there are those who are not part of the community can't thrive. So we need people and companies who are willing to go and meet people where they're at. We need to go to Jane and Finch. We need to go to, you know, those areas. We have to go and meet people where they're at. If we're not prepared to do that, then we're not going to meet our mandate. We're not going to be able to save the people. And I think having those at the helm who are going to flee from the downtown core, because keep in mind, our community isn't the downtown. Our community is spread out here. We need to be able to reach them here. And we also need the funding to do it as well. So that's
okay. Now, do you think there will be a cure for HIV?
The truth is, I hope there will be. I have faith that there will be. But capitalism in a neoliberal society just tells me there won't be. If there is, they won't make it available.
Okay. Now, I saw something in the US to where they're on the verge of finding a cure. Now, that came from the CDC. And as far as I'm concerned, until we know and we have the right data and we're getting the right information from the right forms of government, I'm just looking at it as though I am very happy that so many people are surviving at this time, because I'm saying that there must be some success in a big way, because we're not seeing people die like they used to, which is a good thing. And I take my hat off to the government and to the pharmaceutical companies for making sure that people have their drugs available to them. And the fact that they have doctors to do follow-ups to make sure that everybody is okay. Now, with that being said, what do you think should happen for the next prevention? What's the next phase we should go to for prevention? We already know, like you said, we give out the condoms, we put out the educational material, but still people aren't getting it.
Okay, the truth is, again, meeting people where they're at. What about digital resources? We live in a digital world. There's apps, there's X, Y, and Z, and I think there should be a brochure that says, if you're new to this country, download these apps, and these apps will navigate you. And I think that's what needs to happen, is an actual resource that navigates you from X, Y, and Z's of being part of Canadian life.
Mm-hmm. Now, as we, most, like you said, most of the Black Caribbean and Black people live around the city and not in the downtown core, but yet the energy and the money focuses in the downtown core. So wouldn't you think that the Black population or the Black programs, there should be something focused downtown? Meaning, I had an issue with Black Lives Matter having protests and having this cause and that cause, but yet City TV went to the offices and they had no offices. They had no pamphlets, no programs, no nothing. The man's knocking on the door and nobody is answering phone calls at their supposedly business. Now, this is what I'm saying is if all the money and the energy is downtown, your programs should be focused more downtown. I understand reaching out and going into these different communities. And I understand from people being homeless to needing services with HIV, to people just needing services in general for whatever the cause is for them at the moment. But the government has put these programs in place downtown because they know that that's where the general population of the LGBT community focuses. That's where they come to. That's where they congregate. That's where they socialize. That's where they work. That's where they party. That's where a lot of them live. Now, what do you think needs to change? I mean, like, let's just say they have Black Cap, they have the PWA Foundation. They used to have ACT, which was a library or something. I don't know what I think they focus more on the education part. But now, what do you think needs to happen to get people to go out in Jane and Finch, Black Creek, Scarborough, Bluffs area? Like, how do you think, what do you think we need to do?
We need to make allies. We need to go as organizations to other organizations, community centers in these spaces, and we need to talk face to face with executive directors of their places where we can actually implement services, where we can actually get our programs into these places, where our outreach workers can go for a weekly, bi-weekly visit and have these discussions.
Now, now that you said that, I did a little homework. I went over to Regent Park where they have an LGBT programs there for the older lesbian and gay two-spirited community, and they have a youth program. But when I sat around just so I could watch and see how many people actually showed up at these programs. The programs are there, but 2 or 3 people access them.
Yes. For me, it's about reaching people where they're at. And again, so what we're feeling is there are people who are actually not identified. They slip through the cracks. There are people who don't want to identify. They're slipping through the cracks. But sometimes these people will come and access services downtown. So, there are people who don't want to be associated with gayness. There are people who live completely different lives. What needs to happen is we have to be able to meet them where they're at and direct them to services without them having to compromise quote unquote identity that they're in.
Okay, now I'm going to say this here because I think it needs to be said. It's been on my mind since he said this to me. Now, I asked someone to do my show because I felt that somebody from the community that I think is trying to do something on his own and trying to make an impact on something I think is probably a better market in the U.S. than it is here. But I asked him to take a stand on something within our community. And you know what he said to me? This is a Black man. He said this to me: your audience is not my audience. And I thought to myself, here goes the divide again.
Right.
So yeah. You're listening to me and you're watching what I do, and you see that I'm not on one side of the coin or the other side, but our audiences are not the same.
No.
Meaning that you don't, for me, I would use any voice I had in any medium to get my word and my message across to someone that might be more popular or has a bigger audience. Right. But you're letting pride and the fact of maybe some jealousy get in because you're not. I'm not trying to think for this person, but I said, okay, thank you.
You saw it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were able to see that they put up this block. And I think that right there, so you see it all the time. And that block prevents that person from accessing services, from going where they need to go to fix what's ailing them in their life.
You know, it's a shame that happens a lot with us. But you know, it's funny. I've been reaching out to a lot of the American girls, and I didn't reach out to a lot of the Black girls here. Only the ones that I thought that really understood our cause, our plight. I'm not here to gain anything but knowledge and to help. That's all Stephanie's trying to do. If something good comes out of all this, we're blessed, all of us.
Right.
So
right.
I look at it that way. But the American girls seem to be more outreaching, more ready to educate, even when they don't have much themselves. But yet the girls here, and even some of the guys, they have this thing on their shoulder that they just can't seem to get off. It's like, you came from this country, you're now in Canada, you can take those bricks off your shoulders. And let's try to work together for a common goal. Now, for me, I am really glad that, you know, when this is Pride Week in Toronto, usually we will be carrying on and having a good time. But in the last few years, so many dark things that have happened with Pride, from the Black Lives Matter stopping the parade to the Black preachers getting on Church Street preaching stuff that they didn't do before, and stuff that we didn't let happen before, stuff that we didn't let, because Pride is really about celebration, not about you trying to voice a cause. This is one day or a week of celebration that should be enjoyed by all. We're not here to try to, you know, we're not here for you to be trying to stop the celebration of what people work so hard for. And in general, I think Pride is for us all. And the mere fact of, yes, we give out pamphlets for this and this because we want our community to be educated and informed. But I am glad there's people like you that are educated that can help us maybe see some light at the end of this tunnel. I see that you created some group called Socialite 411.
Yes, so while I was at Black Cap, I created this thing called Socialite 411, and one of my mentors, Anthony Backus, was very instrumental in helping this with me. But it was a space for trans questioning Black youth because there wasn't one that we can go to and get information and just hang out. So I had the pleasure of creating it, and it is still running, actually. I think it was before, you know, the Rona, but it's literally was running every Thursday at Black Cap's head office. So
okay, so what are you going to do now that it's Pride Week in Toronto? What are your plans? Like, they just asked me to do a virtual show again, you know, and I really don't even understand what a virtual show is. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to do it anyway because you know, I just have to do my part. But what are you going to be doing?
So during this whole coronavirus thing, what I was seeing was a lot of our at-risk youth not being able to access the spaces that they normally access, like Maggie's. So what I did was create these QR codes with a card on the back, and it said something. It said like HIV information or condom negotiation, and it would allow the youth who had cell phones to scan it. Then it would be a big, huge chat where the youth can ask questions and basically learn from each other and debunk any misinformation. So that's what I want to do with Pride.
Okay, what is this place called Maggie's? What's that?
So Maggie's is a place for street workers to go and get information, health, even medical advice, which is great. And it's a very underutilized service.
Okay, what is your advice to Black men? Black men from the Caribbean or from wherever they're from, and they feel like they have some shame and they feel like they don't want to access these programs because they're nervous or they're embarrassed. What do you think they should be doing to access these services? What's your advice to them?
It's hard, but keep in mind we're family. We're all tribe, and I think once you walk into a space and you understand that you're now in a place of love and happiness, you're just gonna have all your worries disappear, and you'll be able to get the services. I think just walking in will be enough, and I really believe there are so many of us who are fighting getting tested, who are fighting taking PrEP. And PrEP is pre-exposure prophylactics for those of us who don't know. But there are ways. So I say just go into your nearest ASO or Google it. That's what I would say.
Okay. Now, it was great talking to you. I want you to have a great Pride. Do something, though. Do something.
I will. I'll send you pictures. I will send you pictures of all the parties.
Okay. Now, we're going to wrap it up here shortly. I just want to say that, it's a great thing that you're doing. It's a great thing that you're trying to start something that's Black owned and operated and trying to get the message and letting that other Black people know that there's other Black people out there that will help them without shaming them and without embarrassing them, and just is truly willing to help without any alternative motives. And to my Black brothers and sisters out there, please reach out to George Grant. He is here to help you or guide you along the way for information that can help you. And we're just grateful that so many people are, reaching out and getting the services they need for HIV prevention. And the mere fact of just that, people are living longer, and the fact that, we're doing things now for each other that we didn't do long time ago. We're kind of communicating, just a little bit more communication, and I think we're all going to be on the same page.
Yes,
so
definitely.
I just want to say thank you, George, so much for doing what you do. Have a great and safe Pride. And, I take my hat off to you. I say that to everybody, but I love people that work for community and work for human life. And just the mere fact of just trying to do the right thing every day to help us all. And
Thank you.
Until next time, my friend, happy Pride.
Thank you again, Stephanie. It was lovely.
Thank you. And I will chat with you again. So, ladies and gentlemen, on the show today, I have Mr. George Grant. He is a sociologist student major at York University, and he came on today to give us his insight on HIV prevention and just the whole fact of just trying to make a difference and reach out to people that might not feel like they don't have anybody to reach out to. So we're just saying thank you to him today for this lovely conversation. And until next time, people, happy Pride. It's
Happy Pride. Happy Pride. And stay safe, get tested, and don't forget post-exposure prophylactics before sex.
There you go. And remember, there's lots of condoms around. It's easy. It's easy. So stay safe, everybody. Thank you. And make sure you wear your mask. If you're going to be out and about doing Pride this weekend, make sure you wear your mask and, have fun, but stay safe.
Wrap it and cover it up. Wrap it and cover it up.
Wrap it and cover it up, y'all. All right, until next time. Bye-bye, people. Thank you, George.
Thank you.